The Medical Conspiracy with Dr. Carpenter.
Good afternoon and welcome back. We are here again with you. At least some of us are here again with you. You know, I'm sure you remember all the first problem we had gone through, and Randy couldn't be on the show because of his work schedule.
Who's Randy?
Who's Randy?
Yeah, I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, he used to go by another name, but he's still the same person. Anyway, if you remember, he couldn't be on the show with us anymore because of his schedule and all the problems. And then...
Because of his mental problems.
No, not his mental problems. They were created to us by others. It has nothing to do with it. So... And it's not anything to do with Army's conflict with raccoon extinction. Okay.
Hey, welcome to the Medical Conspiracy on OrionTalkRadio.com and Micro 1650 in Tonawanda, New York. And let's say hi to everybody on Spreaker.com and TalkStreamLive.com. Let's see, Shoutcast, TalkSuperstation.com. And YouTube.com. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, you know, something strange at Spreaker started happening a couple of weeks ago, and I wasn't aware of it until I came back and looked. Yeah. Now, every time we upload a MP3 to Spreaker, it automatically generates this video file and puts it up on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's not much of a video. It's just like a plain still picture, you know. But still,
yeah,
that's kind of cool, you know.
It is. Pretty neat. Well, unfortunately, as you remember, after Randy's problem, then what happened was I was having problem. I had to go back to where I originally came from. And because of all the problems, and I couldn't...
That was crazy when the mothership came, too. Those black helicopters were all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, I couldn't transmit for a while. Then we resolved that. Randy is back. I can transmit. But now, Barbara cannot be on the show. She's having other problems, more of the same, but she cannot be on the show, and we don't know for how long she's going to be off till she can find a solution. We don't know. We'll have to just wait and see. So, for a while, it's going to be just yours truly and Randy. That's it.
We miss you, Barbara.
Yeah.
I hope something turns around. This is...
yeah.
Her problem's been going on actually longer than ours. You know, it's just been more persistent, I guess. Ups and downs with it, you know.
Yeah, just a different situation, so a different... But anyway, and I guess she didn't have another planet to go to. I don't know, okay? I don't know what... she doesn't want to go anywhere else anyway because she wants to be close to family, so son and grandkids. I hope she finds a way to resolve the problem and come back to the show. That's all I can say. In the meantime, we are back to the usual problem of the medical conspiracy. And of course, every week there is something going on, and it's always coming from the same origin. It's always coming from FDA abuse of dedication, FDA not doing their job and covering that with excuses, but just continue being biased and protecting the drug company. It keeps happening and happening over and over again. But another thing is, as you know, I keep checking everything that is happening out there, and I accidentally found this recording. I don't even know that it's in YouTube, but it's a video, and it was put together the Medscape, and the CEO of Medscape did this interview. So I don't know if it's on YouTube or not, but what happened is an interview of a molecular biologist, and he is now a professor at the University of California, San Diego, but he is Italian. I don't know how long he has been in the U.S., a long time, I'm pretty sure. Although, and listen, he's Italian, but there is no friendship here, or no agreement, or no understanding of any kind. And I hope my accent is not as bad. That's all I can tell you, because I was listening to him, a terrible accent. I could not understand a lot of things he was saying, and I hope mine is not that way. But get this guy, his name is, in Italian is Napoleone Ferrara, because in English you pronounce it Napoleon, but it's really spelled in Italian with an E at the end, so it's Napoleone Ferrara. And although pretty strange name, Napoleone. I mean, all the years that I lived in Italy, you know, in Italy, and Ferrara is in Italian. I never heard any kid called Napoleone, or not even adults. So I don't know, weirdly, right there. But anyway.
Well, does it have anything to do with the city of Napoli?
No, it's got to do with Bonaparte.
No, well, okay, that he was just another person with that first
name.
Yes,
Napoleon Bonaparte, he was not from that area. He was from an island out
Corsica, right?
Yeah, pretty far. He's closer to Genova than certainly Naples. So I don't know where the origin of the name Napoleon is. I don't think it's any connection with Napoli. But anyway, it is just a stupid name, though. I mean, it's famous because of Bonaparte, but I don't see how anybody would want to call their kid Napoleon. But anyway, that's just off the record. Okay, this guy, molecular biologist, has done research and study on tumor growth and what causes tumor growth. And obviously he had to come to the subject angiogenesis, creation of new vasculature, and how the system creates new vasculatures to feed the tumor, because the tumor is too many cells in tumor space and has a unusual requirement for blood flow and for nourishment. So this guy, apparently, he did research on that subject. And I guess he came up, and then the interviewer was saying, what was the serendipity, or what for your great discovery? Great discovery, I'm trying to lead you to where the discovery. And I guess his idea was that if you can stop the new growth, creation of new vessels, I guess you can starve the tumor and the tumor will die. Okay. And that could be an acceptable way to do things if you could create a situation where only the vessel created around the tumor are stopped, not throughout the body. But that's not what he came up. And his great discovery, you know it's coming, his great discovery, because he also ended up his research originally was at the University in California, San Francisco. Then he ended up going to work with Genentech. So some of you, I'm sure, will figure out what's coming. What did he discover? His great discovery was the development of Avastin. Ta-da! Right. You recognize that name, I'm sure. I talked about it so many times. Okay. Avastin was a drug brought to the market and approved by FDA with the statement that it was a miracle, a breakthrough, and it was going to stop the creation, angiogenesis. It was going to stop the new growth, the creation of new vessels, so will destroy the cancer. The problem is that that did not apply to destroying only and stopping the creation of new vessel only in the cancer, but the entire body. So, as I explained to you before many times, what happened, people were dying and dying of internal bleeding too. And FDA didn't do anything other than maybe telling them a warning label. I'm not really sure what kind of a warning label, if any. But they got to a point that the European Commission decided, we are going to recall and not allow to use the Avastin. At that point, I think it was December 2011. At that point, I guess, FDA didn't have any other choice but to also recall it. All right? But it was recalled 14 years after it had been approved. So getting closer to the end of the patent restriction. Because in the U.S. was still 17 years in 2011. So it was pretty close. And after hundreds of thousands of people had died. They died because of using Avastin. And finally, FDA recalled. Well, the physician decided, oh, no. We still need to use it because it helps some people. Doesn't matter that it kills hundreds of thousands, but it can help a few, so we should keep using it. And FDA then was allowing that. But the fact is that the drug has killed a lot more people than it has helped. Then FDA covered up all of this by saying, oh yes, but it can be used, it was discovered that can be used for macular degeneration, so we are going to allow to continue the use. Now, from this article and this interview of Ferrara, Dr. Ferrara, the comment is that he not only developed the cancer drug Avastin, that Avastin is the name of Genentech, but the generic name, if you want to know, is Bevacizumab. Is another MAB thing.
Zumab.
Yeah. Yeah, MAB from the Zoom. No, not quite. That's for the cancer. But for macular degeneration, it's the same idea, but it's called ranimizumab. Okay? And it has the brand name of Lucentis. Okay? And if it was killing people, used as a cancer drug, I don't see how it doesn't kill people used for macular degeneration. I don't see how that could happen. They're keeping it covered. They're keeping the statistics covered because Avastin is used for breast cancer, but it caused internal bleeding in the intestine, and people died of internal bleeding. So it had nothing to do with the location of the tumor. So how could it be any different with macular degeneration? It cannot be. But FDA told me it was so great. Yeah, they failed with Avastin, but this one but the use for macular degeneration is great. Yeah, sure. Well, what has happened in the meantime? This Napoleon Ferrara has recently, and that's why there was the interview in Medscape and the video, has recently received a breakthrough prize. He came up with a breakthrough and he deserved a prize in life science. Okay? Now he receives an award and a prize that is $3 million. Okay? And of course he was working for Genentech.
Trump changed.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so what's the conclusion of this? And they were saying the interviewer was talking about how did it happen that you discovered this. Obviously, he did some of his own research and came up with that. Not that difficult to know that the body creates new vasculature, because when you do a color Doppler, you can see it. And that's another big argument about the color Doppler. But anyway, so classified as serendipity or not, they gave him this $3 million award for what? For killing hundreds of thousands of people. Being responsible for developing a drug that has killed people by the hundreds of thousands. Okay? That's the award. That's how our system works. People get rewarded because they make a lot of money to the drug companies. Not because they lie, not because they're helping people, not because they're stopping people from getting hurt, suffer, and die. No, they get an award because they made a lot of money to the drug company. So they give them a prize, which is good money, but it's nothing compared to the money the drug company is making. But they do that, and they reward him for that, with that, because he has done this great thing. Okay, how great it is to cause the death and suffering and death of so many people. Wouldn't you call it that in the category of mass murder? And then they get rewarded. Okay, so you have a mass murder that said, okay, that was great. You reduced the population. You helped to reduce the problem of overpopulation, so we give you $3 million in the reward. Isn't it the same thing? Pretty much?
Yeah.
It's not stretching it that much. And we have some technical problems, but what I was trying to say was this. This guy, and even the guy that interviewed him at that point, but this Napoleon, for what he did for humanity, he deserves a most prized award. He got this prize for a breakthrough prize, and well, he's going to get our most prized award that we give out only very special occasion, and that is the hot cup of coffee in the face. We believe that he definitely deserves this. Too bad that Barbara is not here to hear it. Well, she's here to show, but she's not here to hear it. I think that's pretty much in place. I think that's called for. But who is guilty about this? A lot of the guilt is FDA, because FDA took forever to recall the drug, and then after recalling, it allowed to still have been used. That should have never happened. What do you mean still using it? Because some physician, and that's the other problem. One of the problem is the FDA interested in connection with drug company. And then the other problem is the AMA. Their attitude and their refusal to change anything. In fact, that connects with what I vaguely discussed, and I said the color Doppler, the ultrasound. Apparently, I have been wondering why, after fighting me so much on the ultrasound issue, they're actually using ultrasounds now, but they don't do it until a mammogram first. Breast cancer, first you have to have a mammogram, and then they do an ultrasound. And I've been wondering why they're doing that. And apparently, there was an article that was discussing this situation, and apparently in some state, and one of those was Connecticut, I don't know if Connecticut was the first or not, that intervened and said that the medical have to inform the patient if they do a mammogram and the patient has dense breast, and then they have to use beside a mammogram, they have to use an ultrasound. And I've been wondering why they were using it, because they're told they have to. Of course, this article and this interview was referring to the subject of being obliged to inform the patient that they have dense breast. And the problem with dense breast is because it's difficult to view the tumor, especially with mammogram. Mammogram are pretty useless. That's why they need to use the ultrasound. Okay, and that's another thing that apparently the doctors weren't willing to do that. Were not willing to inform the patient, and they were not willing to do the ultrasound. That's why it was legislated. And then, of course, the medical is resenting the fact that what they do, the state is intervening and legislating them. Well, probably because otherwise they wouldn't do it. But the real center and very upsetting part of all of this was the opposition that the doctors have still on this subject. And they said that, no, they should not be legislated. They should not be told by the state what to do, and they don't want to do that because the mammogram is what they use. And wait and listen to this: the ultrasounds are dangerous.
Oh man! Got about 1 minute. 1 minute, by the way.
Okay. Well, we're getting close to the first break. But what I am saying is the mammogram that use X-ray, and now they have out the 3D mammogram that they use double amount of X-ray to be more precise. Those are not dangerous. They are needed. But an ultrasound is dangerous. And there is no explanation in the statement of this individual why an ultrasound is dangerous. And my question would be, dangerous to whom? And with that, we're going into the break, and then we'll discuss this subject.
I'll be with you in a moment.
Real alternative radio. We are OrionTalkRadio.com.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you. And I'm wondering what it is I should do. It's so hard to keep the smile from my face. Losing control, yeah, I'm all over the place. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am.
Okay, so we are back from the first break. And I'm sure I'm hoping anyway that you follow what we said last week. And I was talking about that drug that was already having tremendous, horrible side effects, but then they discovered that was turning the face, nail, and eye, right of the eye, blue for people. And Barbara was laughing her head off about that, which, you know, might sound funny, but I'm sure it's not very funny for the person that has that problem.
Papa Smurf, yeah.
But the double standard or FDA was saying, FDA is working with the company to figure out what is happening and why the problem is. But then, get a hold of this. This week, beside of all the other events, get a hold of this. That coming from FDA is the statement throw immediately away the product called Bulletproof. Actually,
what?
Bulletproof.
Bulletproof.
Yeah. There's actually a similar product called Lightning Rod. And you can purchase both of them on the web, okay? And I don't know if you can figure out what it is for, but it will become evident in a minute. But the FDA attack on this product is that they contain an undeclared ingredient that is also the active ingredient in Cialis.
In what?
Okay?
Cialis.
Cialis, yes. You know what Cialis is, don't you?
Oh, Cialis. You're talking about the impotent drug, yeah.
Right. Instead of Viagra, it's another alternative.
Right.
Like,
The weekend pill, they call it.
yeah. The active ingredient is tadalafil. Or pronounce it something, I don't know, something down the line. But anyway. Okay. So these sold on the web, bulletproof and lightning rod, they're not declaring it, but they contain this ingredient. And this ingredient being the active ingredient in Cialis, which is FDA approved. It's an FDA approved prescription drug. Okay? It's approved by FDA, but because this product are using it too, that makes him an unapproved drug. Now, can you explain to me that logic? Huh? Can you explain it to me? What's your view?
I don't know.
Okay. Tadalafil is the active ingredient in Cialis, and it's FDA approved. But if it's also the active ingredient in bulletproof and lightning, well, I don't know about lightning rod if it contains the same or something else similar, also FDA approved, then they cannot be sold because they are unapproved by FDA. Okay, what's the difference? Isn't the same drug?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the ingredient is approved, so...
So one is a prescription drug has got one name, and the other one have a different name, and they're sold on the internet. And FDA is not coming in and saying, first they called it an unapproved drug. No, it isn't. It's approved. It's just a different name. It's approved, the ingredient. Okay. And second, what are they saying? Are they saying we are going to work with the producer, with the manufacturer? We're going to work with the manufacturer to fix the problem? No. They're telling people immediately throw it down the garbage of the toilet. Throw it away immediately. Because it was purchased on the web. Okay, what kind of conclusion can you come after this? There is only one conclusion to come after. It's the same product, does the same thing, but it's dangerous because it has a different name and it's sold on the web instead of being sold by that particular drug company. And it's not that FDA wants to work with them. No, they have to throw it away immediately. People that have purchased it, they have to throw it away immediately. Why? That is absolutely ridiculous, an insult to human intelligence and an abuse of people's rights. And why they have to throw it away? Because it's obviously not as expensive of the brand name. That's what it is. It's protecting the pharmaceutical industry. That's all FDA is doing. That is not the mandate of FDA, but that is all FDA is doing, protecting the interest. Now, I remember talking about flushing the pills down the toilet. I remember years ago, one of my patients, she had a really messed up advanced case of breast cancer. She was a disaster, and we were teasing about it because her breast was so heavy, it had such a huge tumor. We just were teasing and saying she did not need a brush, she needed a crane to hold that thing up. Okay? But anyway, so yeah. And the problem was taken care of amazingly enough, and she came along great. Even with that huge tumor was flushing out, she was going back to normal. It was great. Okay? What happened? She was having other health problems, and the doctor decided to put her on rat poison, the famous Coumadin.
Nice.
Yeah. And by the way, there are vitamin E and another natural product that you can use. They absolutely have no side effect, don't do any damage, and if you need to just thin the blood a little bit, they will do it. But Coumadin, and it makes a mess out of it. And of course, thins the blood so much, it shouldn't on the breast, the process, and it was a disaster. It turned, like she had bruises there because the blood was spilling so thin that it was spilling. It was a disaster. Okay, she was the real mess, and then the area started swelling up again, and she was almost back to normal. So it was a real disaster. And I told her, what did you do that for? Yeah, the doctor prescribed, I understand that, but you have to do some research. And I said, look into Coumadin, what Coumadin does, and there are other things you can do, other things you can take that are not like that, and it wouldn't create any problems. So look at it. So what did she do? She took the prescription drugs and she flushed them all down the toilet. Okay? But now FDA wants you to do that with something that contains an approved ingredient, but one approved ingredient, the other one is also containing something I don't think is the same, but is also an approved ingredient, and it's a different one that involves contain sildenafil or something a little bit different, but that they have to be immediately thrown out. Okay?
I think sildenafil is Viagra and tadalafil is Cialis.
Yeah, okay, and they are a little bit different from one another, but if they contain something that is already FDA approved, they have no right to say you can't use that product.
I think they were originally developed as a blood pressure medicine, weren't they?
Yeah, and then they found
side effect.
this effect. Yeah, that's what it was for people that had heart problem. Yeah, but and then the guy, and of course that tells you the guy that developed Viagra and discovered what Viagra could be used for. He was an MD and he got the Nobel Prize.
Oh, I'm going to keep my comments to myself right now.
Yeah. That tells you okay.
It sells.
See, and then you go again. You get breakthrough prizes or Nobel prizes for things that make money, not for things that are really, So, double standard. If it's not from a drug company, well, you have to immediately throw it out. If it's from a drug company, well, you might put a warning label if there are problems and if people are getting killed by the hundreds of thousands, then you just put a warning label and you keep an eye on it, then work with manufacturers to figure out what the problem is, but you do not throw it away. You do not throw it in the trash or dump it in the toilet. See? Only if things are not controlled by really big pharmaceutical companies. And side by side to the idea of the ultrasound that I just introduced before the first break, and it was about having to use ultrasound for people with women with dense breasts, and then they said, I forgot to get back to it, and they said that an ultrasound is dangerous. Now, I like to know how an ultrasound is dangerous. It doesn't use any radioactive enhancer. It doesn't use any X-ray. It doesn't use any form of poison. It's just, when you're doing it for an unborn child, you have to wait at a certain level of the development. But in ultrasound, all it does, it produces heat. It can produce heat by going through the body. It doesn't do anything else. So how can it be dangerous to have an ultrasound, but not dangerous to have a mammogram? See how hypocritical, how obnoxious, how insulting the medical establishment is. They are saying that because they assume most people out there that won't know and they will take their words. That's disgusting. And we let them get away with that? That's my question. An ultrasound is in no way, shape, or form dangerous. It does not produce any damage to the body. For a grown person, for a child, you have to wait for 5 months. After that, you can do it. I mean, come on, wake up. And you're allowing the doctors to state officially in an official interview, no, we shouldn't be using the ultrasound because it's dangerous. So you have to weigh the danger and then go for the mammogram. What? It's just unbelievable. And it's just the same. They're just, when nothing else is on their side, they stand up and say some outrageous explanation. Actually, that was just an explanation how it is dangerous. But because we say so, therefore it is. Oh, it's because you say can cause mistakes. A mammogram is a lot more dangerous. X-ray is subject to the amount of mistake. And if a person has a dense breast, a mammogram is totally useless. In my opinion, it's always used. What does a mammogram do? It finds a lump. Well, if you have a lump, you know it's really an early stage. It might not be anything negative. You don't know, but it might not be anything negative. So having a mammogram, it creates a snowballing process that ends up in poisoning and mutilation when a lot of patients don't need. But it's okay because it's financially productive to the system. So it doesn't matter what it does to the individual. And this is what's happening. Take that. Any comments?
Well,
no.
Typical. It's just typical.
Well, they complain because the state is regulating things. Okay. And then when the state decides, and this is something you might have comments on, when the state decides that marijuana should be decriminalized, and then everybody jumps on the state, no, you cannot do that.
Yeah, well, the federal government, because there's so much there's so much money behind it, and there's so many lies hidden behind those laws. You know, it goes back to William Randolph Hearst, really. And I can't even tell you what year this was, but he sat on a huge newspaper empire, and basically the company had bought thousands of acres of timber to be used in the paper making process, and basically to protect his investment, you know, because hemp fibers could actually make paper at a lot less acreage cost, a lot faster turnover of the land, you know, because hemp plant will grow in just a few years to full maturity, and trees, come on, you know how long it takes.
Yeah. Basically, even today, they're not doing it.
It was a lot of protectionism involved in a lot of it. I mean, even Henry Ford's, you can look this up, you know, one of Henry Ford's prototype cars was made with hemp products, and there was a hemp-based oil that was considered a threat to the petroleum industry. And,
gosh, back then they were...
So, I mean, there's so much protectionism behind the marijuana laws. It's just, you know, it's not even funny. I mean, but then this country was...
That's the thing. A state decide they want to do something, no, you can't, because the federal government comes in and says, you know, you cannot do it. Why? Where is it written that can happen? You know? Isn't it supposed to be the will of the people?
Supposed to be, but
that's not what happened.
I wonder if anybody still believes that or not. I just don't know.
Well, it's not an issue of believing. That's the basis of our that's the basis of our political system.
Well, even the Bible says that all power will be given to the beast, and we've created this beast and we've given all power to it, basically.
No, we haven't. The beast has taken it, but we have done nothing to stop it. And see, that's it. Oh, and by the way, what I found out this week was about the story of the B-17 issue and closing of the Camelot that was open for years. Okay? All right. Now, I want to reiterate that I do not believe in B-17. I don't think it does anything. Doesn't solve anything. It doesn't kill you than regular chemo, but it doesn't solve anything. And it's not selective like some idiot that claimed. Remember during an interview, and then they dropped me and they talked behind my back and they were saying how the B-17 was selective.
Right.
Only going to the cancer. Okay, I'm not in any way supporting the validity of using B-17 for cancer. I'm not doing that because it doesn't work. But what I am doing is supporting the right of people to choose what they want for their cancer. Well, that's what I'm supporting. And because of Oklahoma law that has been around forever since the day it became Indian territory, even before Oklahoma was a state, it was allow people, even before they wrote down and formulated the Health Freedom Act, that has always existed in Oklahoma, and people could choose what they wanted without being controlled by any government of federal or state agency. They were not. And the state, if it tried to interfere, it could be sued. The AMA could be sued. The medical board could be sued. So they cannot do it. And I found out that, this goes back to probably the late 60s, early 70s. Okay. At that time, you couldn't find B-17 anywhere, and people had to go to Mexico for it, which is really not that good of a thing either. But somebody said way back then, and this is something I heard from a very good person, like a good friend, and they ended up in court, and the judge decided, stated, confirmed the law in Oklahoma that they could use B-17. State law allowed that. That's why the Camelot did in Oklahoma, because the state allowed that. The state stand on alternative medicine allowed that to happen. So, how was FDA allowed to raid a place that was using something accepted by the state? The activity of the Camelot were not against the law of the state of Oklahoma. So how could FDA violate the state of Oklahoma laws and raid the Camelot?
Again, it's federal law versus states' rights.
But it cannot be. And the state should fight back. And FDA should be sued for what they did do and continue trying to do to us, and what they have done to the Camelot. They should be sued.
But you were selling adulterated drugs.
Right. Saline. Yeah. Saline is an adulterated drug.
And food coloring.
Right. That can be eaten. Anything that can be eaten is definitely a law subject to a lot bigger restriction than anything that is injected intravenously. It's unbelievable that is, if that's the case. Because you couldn't take chemo drugs that are used intravenous and have the patient drink it. They'll die just like that. Drop dead immediately after they drink that. So you can't. Anything that you can ingest is a lot more restricted in the issue of toxicity than anything else. So we got the end of the first hour coming up.
Don't touch that mouse. The medical conspiracy will return in just a moment.